Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Jure Show. It is Thursday, August 28th. Thanks again for tuning in to get all the relevant, groundbreaking news, both here in the United States, across the world. The only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please be sure to hit that like button, follow the show, hit the notification tab, and share it with as many people as possible. That way we get the truth out as quickly as possible as well. Let's get ready now for the best hour that radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go. Let's delve into the situation we found ourselves in yesterday with this awful shooting that took place at the Annunciation School, the Catholic school in Minneapolis here. You know, I keep hearing the same rhetoric on the left from this. It makes absolutely no sense to me how heartless these people could be. There's no other word for it. These people never waste an opportunity to attack Donald Trump, to attack the right, to attack the Second Amendment, and then nothing gets done about any of these situations. What happened with the Covenant shooting in Tennessee? Did anything change as far as legislation? Nothing. I do believe that my position works on this. There needs to be some type of federal legislation that has some type of armed security in these schools, largely, especially in our blue city, blue state schools. Every single kindergarten through 5th grade, elementary, middle school, high school. That's what it should be. This would deter so much of this senseless violence that we're seeing. And of course, these targeted attacks towards Christians, which I've now been told are up 740% since 2018. You hear about that in the news lately? No, you never hear about that, do you? This whole time there's been an uptick in attacks on Christians. The only thing you hear about is it's anti-Semitism. Okay. That's kicking up too, but are you seeing it as you are singing what's happening with Christians? Of course not. Of course not. But Jen Psaki, maybe one of the lowest IQs on the news. That's saying a lot because we have a lot of low IQs from MS Nobody Cares. But this one, she takes the cake in a lot of these situations. Not only is she not empathetic, her positions are just completely stupid. I mean, I don't know who writes this for her because that's all she is. She's just a script reader. That's all she is. There's no intelligence there. There's no research. Nothing is original there. It's not organic. It's reading off the cue cards. That's what our job was with the Biden administration. Old circle back Jen. But here she goes. This is her just yesterday. This is after 2 kids are shot dead. 17 others are injured. I believe 6 were in very critical condition, by the way. But this is what she had to say. Take a listen to this. She says that prayer is not freaking enough. Prayer does not end school shootings. Prayer does not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. Okay. That's pretty intense. Now, for anyone listening, nobody just prays for something and then just does nothing else about it. If I pray that I want to make sure my home is safe, I don't just sit there and go, God, please make sure my home is safe. Thank you. That's it. The whole idea of prayer is that you have a communication with God, the Father Almighty. That's what it is. You can't just pray one day and then not attend church, not live as a Christian would. You have to open up a communication with God. That's what the whole meaning of prayer. And again, it's not enough just to pray. I can't pray for success. I can't just pray to be wealthy and just expect an abundance of wealth to just fall right on my lap. And you can't just pray for safety either. You have to make sure you go through the proper means in order to ensure that you are going to be safe. That you understand your situation. You understand how to secure a perimeter. All these things. So it's not enough to pray. That's true. But prayer is important. It absolutely is important. Now she follows up with another tweet, writing that kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass, and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe rethink your strategy. So now she's going on to try to attack Donald Trump, of course, his deployment of National Guard troops in D.C. to help with the Metropolitan Police, to tackle rising crime in the District of Criminals. Of course, we know that the crime is way dropped in that city. I mean, it is... I don't think there's been a killing since the troops have been deployed there. Even Mariel Bowser has come out and said that she appreciates what Donald Trump has done because crime in all categories is beginning to drop significantly. You're seeing people that are able to actually go out and enjoy themselves in D.C. They're not worried about getting attacked, mugged, robbed, killed, stabbed, raped, all these things. This is a great thing. And of course, she has to attack that as well. That's her only go-to, is to attack Donald Trump or something else he's doing, which is completely not even related. Donald Trump's jurisdiction is Washington, D.C. That is the capital of the United States. And it has the highest crime rate per capita for murder in the entire nation. And of every other single nation on earth. So we got to ask ourselves, what does Jen Psaki really stand for? She certainly doesn't care for law and order in D.C. She'd love it to stay as the status quo. The murder capital of the world. But imagine, the day of a horrible incident, you have Jen Psaki talking about gun control, of course, right? She's got to talk about gun control. She's got to talk about, obviously, the crackdown in D.C., insult the power of prayer. This is who these people are. They have no solutions. They have nothing but identity politics. Let's say Donald Trump does send people to Minneapolis. Wouldn't that make the streets a much safer place? Wouldn't that have more boots on the ground? And again, I'm speaking hypothetically, if that were to happen. This is what happens when you defund police, you have less police presence in the communities. And again, when you do not arm your schools with proper trained security, and you label it a gun-free zone as it's been done since 1990, look at the uptick of violence with guns on these school campuses. Largely starting in 1999 with the Columbine shooting out in Colorado. Have we not learned anything since 1999? We can arm the Capitol. That's no problem. We have armed security staying with our politicians. Why can't we arm our children? In public schools and private schools, religious affiliated schools, why not? It seems like it would be a much worthwhile ordeal to have. And again, it's deterrence. These cowardly gunmen who, again, try to attack children or manifest wanting to hurt children, as this creep did. We have nothing to deter these people with because they know they're entering a gun-free zone. It says it on the school buildings. I remember I saw that when I was going to school in elementary school. This is a gun-free zone. Okay, what do you think a raving lunatic, like the one we just were talking about, the one who believes he's a woman, the mother worked at the school, Now, we'll never know the true motive, if he has a gripe with the school or anything like that. But we had 20 people shot. We've got to do better than this, folks. So we got to do better than Jen Psaki. We got to do a lot better than Jen Psaki. She is not representative of the way real Americans feel about situations like this. Having positive thoughts and prayers is never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. But she's a communist, so therefore she doesn't believe in God. I would have to say. I don't think I know any communists that believe in God. But we find ourselves in this situation as, where do we go next? Where do we go next? We need to make sure we secure our schools from crazies like this clown that we keep seeing constantly now. This has to stop. This, again, push to try to normalize this type of behavior has got to stop as well. And we should have answers to this. Why are we doing this to children? The sexualization of children when they're very young. They're trying to push teaching about oral sex and anal sex to first graders in the state of California. When you tell a child they can be whatever the hell they want, hey, they feel like they're, the opposite sex today, that's great. They feel like they're a dog today, wonderful. And again, when a child from when they're born to the age of about 10, they're in a constant dreamlike state. It's called the theta brainwave state. And if you start telling a kid all this perverted nonsense, they start to believe it after a while. Their brain gets wired that way. And that's why we have a 22, 23-year-old with pigtails, thinking he's a woman. These people need mental help. They don't need any appreciation towards their perversion. It is a real disease. And it should be treated as such. But what do we do instead? We continue to push it. We continue to try to normalize it. This is not normal behavior. Just because they rip the pages of the LGBTQXYZWTUV out of the American Psychiatric Journal does not mean they're not mental illnesses. But this is where we find ourselves today. Championing this type of behavior, where the suicide rate is 40 to 45%. And we're trying to encourage children to go get this type of surgery where they're removing their genitals, removing their breasts, sewing this on, getting hormone blockers. I mean, it's just sickening. What kind of society are we becoming that we allow this to happen to our children? And where the hell are the parents who should be enraged that this is being taught to their children in public schools? That's another big problem. You're seeing this, again, championed in school. You're seeing it pushed in school. Just like you're seeing the critical race theory and the whole racism nonsense and what have you. I mean, this is really sick stuff that we're seeing here. And it's got to stop. The normalization of, especially this whole trans thing, has got to stop. There's no need for this. There's no need for this at all. By the way, I want to share you another little piece that I found. This was off social media yesterday. It said there was more trans violence just yesterday. A friend of mine posted this. Stevie Olivia, so another trans maniac, Wilkins, here we go, charged for allegedly trying to run over Border Patrol agents. Isn't that wonderful? That's great. Wilkins showed up to the scene where two illegal aliens were being arrested and reportedly charged the officers with his car. On his LinkedIn, it says he goes by he pronouns. Okay. Multiple persons, I guess. I don't know. What does that even mean? What the hell is this nonsense? And by the way, to add to the mental illness, get this as well. California is making little girls fill out forms declaring they have a mental health issue if they don't want to share a locker room with biological males. First of all, we've got to get away from this whole, are you a biological male? or a biological female. The word male already refers to biology. There's no need to put the adjective in front of it. Or adverb, I think it would be, if I'm not mistaken. We already know. No, it would be adjective. There we go. Sorry. Bide a moment. All right, so we're actually pushing young kids to feel they have an issue. Unless they want to be, again, indoctrinated with this nonsense. So again, going with their innate instincts, if they don't go along with it, they have to fill out a form saying they have a mental health issue. Not the person who's pretending to be the opposite sex. Now, Riley Gaines apparently has posted a photo evidence of this. I don't know how schools can get away with this. I really don't know how this, again, how we survive from this, folks. And this is just nonsense in and of itself. This has got to stop. Again, this push to push people into this lifestyle is just nonsense. It's nonsense. And you're seeing the violence of these deranged people happening more and more and more and more. This should not be something normalized. And the hell with Jacob Fry coming out saying, well, we shouldn't think about violence towards the trans community by saying negative things, or whatever the hell he tried to say yesterday. Trying to add points from the far left, I guess. Who the hell knows? He's desperately trying to stay on as mayor. But you know what? These situations, these incidents where we see violence, these mass shootings, which results in the loss of life. We find out we come out to situations where we have people behind the scenes always never allowing a good crisis to go to waste. This is on Fox News yesterday evening. I don't know if anybody saw this, but take a listen to this. This was Aaron Cohen talking about this AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. You're never going to believe this.
I am now about to launch GIDEON, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%. I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700.
Okay. Does anyone not realize this is police state tactics? This is Orwellian. Remember, they're policing language. Not threats of violence, just any type of language. And how do we know what it's going to track? Whatever the hell they determine is hateful language. And again, they can use it for whatever they want. If somebody is, let's say, for example, speaking out against the Israeli-Gaza war. The hell with Netanyahu. We shouldn't be doing this. Boom. Anti-Semitic trope. There we go. Threatening violence towards the Israelis. Then you get a nice little knock on your door from the police. We've seen it in Europe, folks. We saw it in the UK. People getting arrested for Facebook tweets. Or posts, rather, I should say. Do you see where we're headed with this crap? Now, of course, this wasn't the big story. That we've already got this built-in GIDEON AI threat detection platform built for law enforcement. It's complete control. It's to control the way you write. It controls the way, of course, in which you get information now. Because they can just tag certain people as being violent, right? Or they can tag people as threatening violence with simple words, right? So it doesn't even have to be like you say something like something egregious, right? Like what this clown was writing in his manifesto book or what he was saying online. It'll just be simply whatever they determine. And basically, it's going to police everybody, though. Because everyone will become under this umbrella. So they'll know exactly what you're saying. They'll know exactly what you like. Right, you could like a post. Hey, that can incite violence. Hey, 500 people like this post. We got to check out each and every one of them. It's like that movie, The Minority Report. Really. Go watch that with Tom Cruise. Yep. That's what they want. It's called preventative detection, really. You get arrested before you commit the crime itself because you were thinking about it, right? You were thinking about it when you wrote that post on Instagram or Facebook or X or what have you. This is how they want to control things. Because again, they know, especially when returned with this Middle East war now, they know they're losing ground because they see what people are going through in the Middle East, in Gaza, in Iran, in Syria, and other places. And Israel is losing lots of support. So if they can go and say, well, you know what, we've deemed that you posted this, that was taken out of context, that threatens Israelis. And I don't mean to just pick on Israelis now, but this guy was a former Israeli special ops veteran. That's what it says here. But it can be for anything. You question what Donald Trump said about the tariffs? That can be considered hate speech, after all. 2 assassination attempts. Do you see how this can get out of hand? Do you see how this violates your way in which you can express yourself? And I'm not saying you express yourself through violence. But they can label anything as a hate crime. They can label anything as inciting violence. All these things. Now, unless, of course, you're on, MS Nobody Cares. Spitting on Christians is totally fine. Look what Jen Psaki did yesterday. Jacob Fry uttered the same damn thing. What did he say? Now's not a time for prayer? No. The hell with prayer. 730% increase of attacks on Christians since 2018. 730% increase. Did you hear about it when it was almost doubled? Not even. I didn't hear a damn thing about this. So that's okay. You can wear Halloween costumes mocking Jesus Christ or nuns or a priest. That's totally fine. You ever notice you never see anything for any other religion on Halloween? You ever notice you can't wear anything that would mock those religions? Judaism, Islam, Buddhists. None. Just Christianity. You can, dress up as a priest in some provocative way. I'm trying to be PG about this. Or a nun, for God's sakes. That's okay. It's okay to attack that. It's okay. Have you heard anyone speaking about how this is an anti-Christian attack? An attack on Christianity? Very seldom. A couple people have, I've seen. But we know if it was Judaism, it'd be anti-Semitic to the core, of course. We wouldn't hear the end of it. If it was against, obviously, Muslims, you'd be Islamophobic. We'd hear nothing about that. For the end of it, there'd just be constant bombardment of this. Yep, there it is. There it is in a nutshell. So there's their plans for you now. They use this pretext to usher in state-sponsored, really control of what you write online and what you read online. And you better watch what you say, otherwise the police will come and have a nice little visit with you. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? You can't make this stuff up, folks. You really can't. All right, let's move on to this next article I've got here today. This is interesting, really based on what I just was saying to you. And it says here, Netanyahu spoke with Brietbart News, saying that you cannot be MAGA if you're anti-Israel. Interesting. Very interesting. I love how a foreign leader is deciding what a political party means. So he knows what MAGA means. And he knows how to define it. That's interesting to me. I think that's fantastic. Again, everyone has a right to, again, their own opinion about a situation. I might disagree with your opinion. You might disagree with mine. I know that doesn't happen very often, but you know, someone might disagree with my opinion, my logic. But we're individuals. Not everyone on the right thinks exactly the same. I think for myself. That's why I present to you various articles from different people, of course, mostly independent people. Yeah, I've got Brietbart, New York Post, and whatnot on here too, because I like the way some of these people write. And usually, sometimes they're very spot on about these things. But, you know, if I give you information about what's happening in this war in the Middle East, that doesn't mean I hate people because I'm talking about what one country is doing over another. And we've got to get away from this. If you question something, you instantly are inciting violence and hatred. I was accused the other day on the internet. I was talking about what was happening with this humanitarian aid. And I got a barrage of people. Well, what you're saying is anti-Semitic, you Jew hater. I said, really? So giving you the facts of what's going on means I'm inciting violence? So again, we've got to be careful. Because look what we've got now. And again, I haven't been told if this is going to pass yet or not. I'm sure it will. Behind the scenes, we'll have a Patriot Act 2.0. We'll have this wonderful AI device. We'll be ahead of the game. And we'll police that speech before it even gets out there. And we'll get those damn people that don't agree with what we're saying. Fantastic. Same situation. You see that you saw it during COVID. All right? If anyone spoke out against the vaccine, you were an anti-vaxxer. If you said anything about any alternative medicine, you didn't believe in the science, right? That's what Fauci said. He said he is the science, and he knows what's going on, right? You talked about, not wearing the mask, of course. You were, again, anti-mask, and how dare you? Are you a doctor? That's you keep hearing the same crap over and over again. And a lot of times the owners of these companies, these tech companies, would simply erase your information or shadow ban you. I've had it happen many times before in the past too. So now we have a leader of another country, the Prime Minister of Israel, saying that the problem he referred to as the woke right, which arose as some conservative pundits, including a few that had once been supportive of Israel, opposed Israel in the 12-day war against Iran, as well as any American involvement on Israel's side. I think that's indicative of a lot of people. Why are we involved in these conflicts when they have absolutely nothing to do with the United States at all? We were days away from a peace deal with Iran. We had a great peace deal. And Israel decides to attack them. It scrapped the entire peace plan. It makes Donald Trump look untrustworthy when he starts championing it. They set up a meeting for Sunday. Right? That's when they plan for it. And then they come up with the excuse, oh, well, we gave them 60 days and there was day 61. Then why the hell did you make a meeting for 2 days afterwards and tell them that this is when the meeting's happening? And again, they killed the chief negotiator, Shamkhani. You kill nuclear scientists? And a nation that, again, has not attacked you at all. I don't know how we can get behind this. I mean, really? A lot of people are saying, well, gee, I'm so glad, now there's no threat of Iranian nuclear weapons. And I said to you, and again, this is the information I got from, again, people that either live in Iran or, again, have intelligence backgrounds. All that technology, right? All the centrifuges, all the uranium needed, all the proper machinery, all that was removed before any of these attacks took place. And the IAEA report echoed the same exact thing that I was saying, days later, of course. They might have this weaponry now still. Oh, okay. Well, what'd you think? They just leave everything in one spot? They had aerial footage of dump trucks going in and out of these facilities days before this happened. Wouldn't be very difficult to move the amount of uranium they had that was enriched to 60%. So again, unless you back war, you're somehow not MAGA now, right? You got to be involved with this war propaganda. If not, you're not MAGA anymore. Okay, well, fine, whatever. I don't give a damn. I don't try to label myself in any way. I consider myself, someone that wants to make this country greater again. That's what I believe in. But I don't need a title, right? I don't need to wear a hat. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me how anyone labels me. What the hell do I care? I know what I stand for. I know what my values are. And there was no need for this conflict to take place. And we were spending, what, $285 million a day using these missiles, these THAAD missiles, and just Iron Dome alone. We saw Iran just totally counterattack Israel in this situation, destroying a third of Tel Aviv, destroying 2 of the 3 major ports that made them inoperable, hitting the Ben Gurion airport, hitting refineries in Haifa. It wasn't good. It wasn't good for the Israelis. They bit off far more than they could chew in this situation. And it's in my estimation, of course, that they were the ones that were telling Donald Trump, hey, we need a ceasefire. We need to stop this. Because it was not looking good. And then what does Donald Trump do? Donald Trump bombs these same refineries, these nuclear facilities that were already hit. To, I guess, end the conflict. And, of course, we come out saying we've won it. Now, I think what they saw was that Iran was a lot more capable than what they really thought. Again, that's my opinion. That's my own estimation. But there we go. Now, the rest of this article goes on to say, Brietbart asks him, anti-Semitism has been rising around the world, blah, blah, blah. Many of us have become used to seeing it on the extreme left, but now it does seem to be growing on the right. And not just a traditional source from traditional sources on the right, the neo-Nazi fringe and so forth. But they are in the United States, certain popular conservative commentators who appear to have drifted in that direction. Where is that coming from? Is it based on foreign influence? Is it religiously based somehow? Where is this coming from, in your view, and how do you stop it? Well, what does Netanyahu say? Now he goes on this long, rant, of course, but I'll just read you a little bit of it. He said, there's been a lot of foreign influence over the last 2 decades. There have been a lot of NGOs from various corners, primarily from Europe, but also from Qatar, right? The same Qatar, which, of course, he took some money from. Go look up Qatar Gate and Netanyahu. Qatar was giving Hamas money, but they also siphoned money to good old Bibi. But don't say that. That would be bad. And, of course, he goes on saying, you spend billions on American universities, vilifying Israel, vilifying Jews. Yeah. I think what people are seeing, though, this is my own belief, is that people are seeing the starvation of the Palestinians. They're seeing this unending bombardment of bombing villages where people are. You're shooting people, getting humanitarian aid. You're seeing people living in makeshift tents that had absolutely nothing to do with what happened on October 7th. The talk about ethnic cleansing, or at least alluding to it, where they're talking about making all of Gaza Jewish. All these things. Again, people hear this, people see this now. Because again, on TikTok, you can see exactly what's going on. I mean, the cell phone, I got to tell you, cell phones are the way of the future in a sense, because we would only have, the mainstream media now to look at or read it in the New York Crimes. It would fit a narrative, but you can't change a narrative when you, again, have independent journalists on the ground that can go to these areas. Or you can't have a change of opinion when you have someone with their cell phone out or a camera rolling, and you're seeing it right in front of your eyes, day after day. Or you're getting leaked military footage of the IDF using drones to murder a 6-year-old carrying water. Or a family walking down the street. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And that type of violence, that type of murder, we should all be against. And I'd be against it if it was happening to the Israelis. Or any other group of people. That's wrong. But yet we've got to be, told it's just this outer influence. This is why we're hated. First of all, I don't hate Israelis at all. I don't like their government right now. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like the positions that they've gotten us into in this Middle Eastern conflicts, starting after 9/11. Do I have a right to say that? Does that not make me MAGA anymore? Trillions and trillions of dollars spent on these Middle Eastern wars. Where's it gotten us? Why are we there? What does that have to do with us? Here we go. More propaganda. Iran wants to annihilate the United States. Israel is the best ally of the United States. Interesting. Israel is fighting Iran, and you can't be MAGA if you're pro-Iran. First of all, I'm pro-America. That's what I am. I'm not anything else. You can't be MAGA if you're anti-Israel. Again, I don't understand these positions. You have to have allegiance to a foreign nation, otherwise you're not pro-American? The hell makes up this stuff? I mean, come on. President Trump understands this. Yep, of course he does. He got over $100 million. I think $6 million for Miriam Adelson. Yeah. Yep, there it is. There's the influence. And he stands very strongly with us. There we go. Good. So Donald Trump, who ran as the peace candidate, is still giving arms to Ukraine as I speak this to you. Still backing what's happening inside Gaza. Championing what's happened in Iran and in Lebanon and in Syria and in Yemen. I mean, we couldn't even beat the Yemenis, the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They completely shut down that entire region of the Red Sea. We spent $1 billion trying to break through their infrastructure at their missile reserves, and we couldn't do it. We had to leave the region. Of course, we said it was a victory for us. We got to stop with this, folks. Like Thomas Jefferson said, never forget this. No foreign entanglements. We don't need to be involved in these situations. We don't need to be in any of these situations we seem to find ourselves in. Yet there we are, in another war. Or at least promoting another war in many regards. Giving aid here, giving aid there. It's unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. All right. Let me go over this article I have right now in Zero Hedge. And it says here that Trump mulls travel ban for EU officials over Orwellian censorship laws. I mean, this is interesting to me based on what I've just played for you. That we're going to probably soon have an AI, I guess, state police run device watching everything you type and say on the internet. But President Trump is now weighing a travel ban on European Union officials behind the bloc's Digital Services Act, a sweeping online regulation that the White House claims is designed to censor Americans. Well, we already do that enough here, don't we? We already have all these other platforms that censor us or share information. It's nothing new. Still violates your Fourth Amendment rights. First Amendment rights, of course. Now, according to a source in Reuters, the State Department is now considering visa restrictions targeting senior EU policymakers responsible for this legislation. Now, it says here a decision has not yet been made, but when decisions inside the administration intensified after a high-level meeting just last week. The move would directly punish foreign officials for domestic policies, Washington says undermines free speech rights. Again, I ask you, how could you have free speech when you have someone pushing an AI system that probably is working with either the FBI or the CIA, monitoring every single damn thing you write, and categorizing it as if it is hate speech based on their own metrics that would link you directly to your local police department? Do you think people would speak freely in a situation like that? I don't think so. Now, the Trump administration argues that the policy amounts to government-driven censorship, accusing Brussels of forcing U.S. companies to muzzle American users under the guise of combating misinformation. That's the same thing. Misinformation, hate speech, violence, all these things. It's already illegal to threaten somebody with violence. We are monitoring increasing censorship in Europe with great concern. But there is no First Amendment in Europe, first of all. By the way, there's no First Amendment in Europe. You can't say what you believe in Europe. Try going to Germany, see if you have any First Amendment rights. Go try talking about World War II. Ask David Irving how that went for him, by the way. It's such a joke. It really is. So what, we're going to ban certain officials from coming to the United States? Now, an EU Commission spokesman fired back, rejecting the claims as completely unfounded, insisting that the DSA sets out rules for online intermediaries to tackle illegal content while safeguarding freedom of expression and information. Yeah, right. Again, I watched this. Someone said something about immigration in the UK in a Facebook post, and the cops show up to her house and arrest her. The same thing happened in Australia. Same thing. Free speech. Yeah, right. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable when you see this type of stuff. This is, again, Orwellian. Absolutely Orwellian. But they guise it based on, for example, UK's Online Safety Act. Everything's about your safety. The Patriot Act, right? Has nothing to do with it being a patriot. It has to do with more control over you. Never forget what Rahm Emanuel said. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is what they're doing right now. In the UK, in the EU, in Germany, in Brussels, all over. They want to control what you see. They want to control what you hear. And they want to control who tells it to you. That's the whole purpose of it. It's all control. It's all control. And again, that will shape your opinion, right? If you keep reading the same nonsense over and over again, you start to believe the BS. And that's exactly what they want. They control the narrative. That way you see no opposition. That's why they're so miffed about Al Jazeera being in Gaza. And that's why they killed 5 of their journalists who were inside a hospital of all places. Then, of course, they label them as Hamas afterwards, which is completely unfounded. Am I allowed to say that to you, or is that anti-Semitic? Oh, okay. I don't care. All right, let's go on. Newsmax. Gordon Chang to Newsmax saying that 600,000 Chinese students is totally wrong. He does some great work, by the way, writing about China's ambitions and what have you. And he's a real expert on the issue of China. So Gordon Chang sharply criticized President Donald Trump's declaration this week that he would let 600,000 Chinese students attend American universities, warning that such a move would jeopardize U.S. security and limit opportunities for American students. Well, of course it does. Of course it does. You bring in more people from abroad. It's the same thing with immigration. You're taking away someone else in this country's opportunity to better themselves. With a job, with education, with, again, keeping inflation low. All that goes away when you start to flood the system. Now, in a Wednesday appearance on Newsmax, Chang said admitting such a large number of Chinese students is totally wrong and would hurt American students competing for limited university spots, especially in key disciplines. Every slot for a Chinese student is one fewer for an American. And let's remember that the Chinese are taking slots for STEM topics. That'd be science, technology, engineering, mathematics, all the big fields right now that are very competitive. That's exactly what we want our American students to study, right? This is why it's so funny when you hear the nonsense that we need to bring in more H-1B visas from India to work these engineering jobs. And I say to myself, wait a minute. We have some of the best tech schools in the world, right? MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Caltech. I mean, the list goes on. We graduate, I believe it was last year, 116,000 engineers, and we've got to go pull people from abroad to come work in the United States? What's wrong with the students we have right now that are graduating with bachelors in these fields? What is the point, again, of going to school if you're simply going to be phased out by somebody else abroad? We have to start thinking about America first. This is what I tell you. America first. We need to clean up American cities before we start sending aid around the entire world, entire globe. We need to fix our border wall before we send money to help with Egypt's border wall, Jordan's border wall, all this nonsense. We neglect our own nation, our own security, our own students. Look what they do in public education now. They've lowered the standards so damn much. Again, because of immigration. They have kids that come in. They don't speak the language, therefore they cannot keep up. So what do? They have to lower the standard, lower the standard, lower the standard. That way they get enough A's in, right? That makes them look good. Meanwhile, your kid learns jack crap. Almost said a bad word there. And he, maybe they get into Caltech or wherever. They want to be an engineer. But they're not as competitive as this student from China or India. I think it was at one point they were trying to do away with accelerated placements. AP courses in high school. This is the decisions of people that want to do harm to Americans. They don't want Americans succeeding. They don't want them to be the best and the brightest that they can be. They want them to be indoctrinated perverts. It really comes down to. Look at the nonsense they're teaching them. 600,000 students. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me why you need that. Now, Howard Lutnick was on with Laura Ingraham on Monday, and he said that if we didn't allow these 600,000 Chinese nationals to come into the United States, what they do is they would have basically 15% of universities going out of business. That's it. Those are his exact words. And I said to myself, wait a minute. Out of business. Education is a business. The more people they get to sign up their courses, take out the loans, the more money they get, the more endowments they get. It's all a money-making scheme, folks. Then you go out to get a job and you can't get it because somebody else from another country is coming and taking it, who they feel is more skilled than you are. We've got to start looking out for American citizens. That's what it just has to come out that way. That's the way it needs to be. Now, Chang argued that the mission of U.S. universities must be to prepare Americans, not citizens of a regime that is declared as its enemy, as China has done. Now, beyond education, Chang also stressed that the proposal would create major security risks, pointing to weaknesses in the current vetting system, noting that the Chinese Communist Party and even the People's Liberation Army have already gained access to U.S. universities. So again, the presence of Chinese intelligence operatives on U.S. soil. Only multiplies if you keep bringing in more of their people. Remember, China has to allow you to leave their nation. They know exactly who they're sending to those public schools. The universities. You already have the FBI already saying that it's overwhelmed, trying to monitor Chinese espionage activity. You're going to bring in more students? In last year's schooling, roughly 277,000 Chinese studied in U.S. institutions, contributing an estimated $43.8 billion. There's the business aspect of it. It's all about the money. It's not about growing up the community, growing up the individual, as it ought be. But, it's a moneymaker for them. The more people they bring in, the better. So there we go. That's where we find ourselves. Now, Trump has gone out saying that he's not going to admit, as of late, 600,000 students. That's what he's at least saying as of late, but who knows what will happen with this. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. All right, let's move on. I got a couple more articles, but I don't seem to have much time for many more, so we'll go to this one, though. This is one I wanted to go over yesterday, but we ran out of time. All right, so this one is interesting. It's in the Gateway Pundit. It says that Trump calls for George Soros and Alex Soros to be charged under a RICO statute for funding protests and much, much more. He gives the warning of, be careful, we're watching you. So Trump on Wednesday called for the far-left billionaire George Soros and his son Alex Soros to be charged under Racketeering Influence and Corruption Organizations Act for funding and supporting violent far-left riots. Soros and his Open Society Foundation, which I call the Open Borders Society Foundation, have funneled money and bankrolled many dark money projects and radical left-wing movements to destabilize conservative governments and place radical leftist globalists into power. He's also the puppet master behind the lawfare against Donald Trump. Election interference, chaos across the country. So Soros and son, right? They fund all these situations, these movements. This is what they do. Why do you think you saw people coming up from the southern border wearing Biden shirts? Who do you think gave it to them? Well, it's a lot of these NGOs, but Soros is behind all these situations as well, using the Open Society Foundation. Again, it's just another front. This is how they make their positions become known. It's all there. How do you think he gets behind Alvin Bragg? Or Larry Krasner? Or George Gascon in L.A. as DA? All these radical left-wing DAs, they don't prosecute. They act as public defenders, in a sense, which is not their job. And then we're shocked that crime gets out of hand in our major cities. Shouldn't be a shock to anybody. And he's funded this all across the country. Goes on to say, notably, the Jewish billionaire has funded countless instances of violent riots, including anti-Israel movements, Black Lives Matter, and other leftist projects. Yep. Anytime you see a bus full of people come in, ask yourself, who is busing these people in? Who's showing up to these anti-Israeli protests on college campuses? Is it the students on the university campus that are spray painting, leaving trash, destroying public property? Who's doing that? You think it's the students that attend the university? It's the same people every time. This goes back to the 1960s, for God's sakes. We have these campus protests going on. Or when you have people going to universities to speak that are on the right wing, conservative-based values, what happens? You have a protest start on a publicly funded college campus. See people breaking glass, starting fires, spray painting, threatening people from going inside. This is all fascist in and of itself. That's what the black shirts in Italy used to do, by the way. They used to shout people down, when they were trying to speak and whatnot. Nothing's changed. These people are backed by the exact same people. And Trump is right to start asking questions. The one thing I would say, though, is you got to start arresting these people at these protests. But you got to start arresting the people that are in charge of these protests. You know, you arrest a guy who's on the phone, he gets some message, they decide to go do something. You need to arrest that guy, get that phone, and figure out who he's talking to. And then you make a paper trail based on all that. That's how you start making a case against this. Where they're inciting violence, where they're calling for civil unrest. Those Black Lives Matter protests back in 2020 weren't anything organic at all. President Trump has now called for Soros and his son, Alex, who's been a prominent figure in the Democratic Party, to be charged with this RICO statute because of their support of violent protests and much, much more all throughout the United States of America. Let me just tell you really quickly, nothing is going to happen to either of these two. They're far too rich and powerful, and they're in the club. That's what it all comes down to. They're far too wealthy. Nothing's going to happen to them. Now, it's nice to see that people are calling them out because we all know that, again, they're the figureheads and all this that's going on. But they're not going to be arrested. It's just not going to happen. So while it's wishful thinking and would be nice to see, it's simply just not going to happen at all. Yeah, it's a lot of talk, but nothing's going to result as this. Nothing's going to happen to the 200 plus radio stations George Soros bought. Yep, right before the election. Bought 220 radio stations, including the entire Odyssey radio network, which reaches like 165 million different Americans. It's fun. Thank you, Bill Clinton, by the way, for doing that in the 90s. Used to have many private, local radio stations. Now it's all conglomerated. Thank you, Bill Clinton. Another thing to add to your stellar career, by the way. It's unbelievable. All right, folks. We have like 2 minutes left. I don't think I want to get into anything too much. I was going to talk with you about how India and Saudi Arabia have become major consumers of Russian oil. That's probably not going to look good for them later on. Trump will probably go after them via tariffs. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on the Ukraine war, of course, and what's happening there. What's happening with specifically Trump's actions as time goes on. But we'll keep an eye on all this, folks. So we're approaching Labor Day weekend, so I just want to tell everyone, make sure you have a nice, blessed weekend. I mean, everything will be very good, I'm sure. There'll be no school, or school will be starting for some people. Folks, make sure you keep your house in order. That's what it comes down to. Make sure you keep your house in order. Make sure your kids are respectful. Make sure they understand the value of learning and treating others with respect. That's where it really starts. Everything starts in the home. So it's important that you do that. Make sure you start up your food, water, ammunition, anything you need to be self-sufficient. Medicines, tools, money, gold, you name it. And folks, I want to tell you, today's my last show in the great state of California as I head to New York on Monday, where I'll be beaming from you live on Tuesday, God willing. Have a blessed weekend. Take care.